The Jews fought a war against the Arabs and Palestinians on the land. The Jews won that war. I don't care that we were indigenous. I don't care that Palestinians were indigenous. It is our land. It is now a country. No other country in the world is expected to separate part of their country and give it to the indigenous people. No, but somehow that argument makes sense for all of you morons. It doesn't make sense for the US. It doesn't make sense for Mexico. It doesn't make sense for Canada. It doesn't make sense for Australia. And it definitely doesn't make sense for Israel.
Who has the authentic claim to the land of Israel? And would that change if Palestinians are the indigenous people over there? Take a look at this clip over here where this woman goes on a bit of a rant and says why that probably wouldn't change anything even if the Palestinians were the indigenous people. Take a look at what she says and then we'll talk about it. But first, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Check this out.
I don't care if you believe that Palestinians are indigenous to the land of Palestine. That does not mean they get to have their own country within the current country of Israel. Let me explain. Almost every single country in the world was conquered. Canada was colonized by the French and British. The land was taken from the native Inuits and Métis. In no way, shape, or form are the Inuits allowed to create their own within Canada because they were indigenous. Australia was colonized by the British and the land was taken from the indigenous Aboriginals. Are they allowed to have their own country within Australia? Southern Australia is now going to be a new country because they were indigenous. No, that is not the way the world works. In 1948, the Jews fought a war against the Arabs and Palestinians on the land. The Jews won that war. I don't care that we were indigenous. I don't care that Palestinians were indigenous. It is our land. It is now a country. No other country in the world is expected to separate part of their country and give it to the indigenous people. No, but somehow that argument makes sense for all of you morons. It doesn't make sense for the US. It doesn't make sense for Mexico. It doesn't make sense for Canada. It doesn't make sense for Australia. And it definitely doesn't make sense for Israel. It's unbelievable how much Jew hatred blinds people into demanding things of Israel that they would never demand of another country.
One could make the argument that Israel has perhaps better than any other claim, even from a secular vantage point, a better claim to its land than any other country does. On the one hand, there is the historical argument. There's been Jewish sovereignty documented in the land of Israel for 3,000 years. You have King David, you have King Solomon, you have the Hasmonean kingdom. All of this is all documented. You have archaeological evidence supporting Jewish presence in the land of Israel for millennia. There has been Jewish presence in the land of Israel throughout the exile, even after the destruction of the temple and the destruction of Jerusalem. In the beginning of the exile, it was a small Jewish presence that remained in that land. And so there is a historical argument. There's also an international law argument as well. Again, talking purely from a secular vantage point. There's the international law argument where you have the Balfour Declaration in 1917, you have the UN Partition Plan 1947, you have Israel's Declaration of Independence in 1948. These are instances where the international community is telling the people that this land is going to be designated for them to use as a country. Again, a secular argument, a secular country. Then there's also the perspective of the Jewish survival argument, right? That there needs to be some sort of refuge for the Jewish people, being that throughout the centuries of exile, since the destruction of Jerusalem, no matter where the Jewish people have landed, they wound up getting kicked out, oppressed, and so forth. There's the historical persecution of the Jewish people has sort of caused a need for a place of refuge, right? It's a self-defense that is provided as in the form of currently a sovereign nation. Again, these are all secular arguments, but with those ideas in place, you could perhaps make the claim that no country on planet Earth has a greater claim to the land in which it's lived, that has historical ties to the land, that has international law in agreement with having that land, and that has needed it because of the sake of its own survival. Then there's the religious argument, and then the spiritual perspective in which the land of Israel is given by God in the Bible to the Jewish people multiple times. It's promised to Abraham multiple times, it's promised to Isaac, to Jacob. God mentions many times throughout the Torah to Moses, and continuing on. And the Jewish people has always looked to the land of Israel as its sort of spiritual epicenter. In any case, the land of Israel, whether we're talking from a spiritual or secular perspective, belongs to the Jewish people. That doesn't mean it's only for the Jewish people, and the Jewish people are the only ones that are allowed to live there. In fact, even from a secular vantage point, the secular state of Israel is the greatest safe haven for freedom of expression in the entirety of the Middle East. It's the place where you're going to find women's rights. It's the place where you're going to find LGBTQ rights. It's the place that you're going to find a secular, liberalized, westernized democracy in a region that is full of theocratic dictatorships. And for that reason, and if for no other reason, look just to that reason, wouldn't it be to our benefit as a secular Western country in the United States to back that country amidst a whole area of theocratic dictatorships? Wouldn't that be the place that we would want to support as a liberal democracy or as liberally democratic-minded people? Wouldn't we want to support that? Israel is not going anywhere, and with that in mind, that has to be the starting point for a true path forward into how this is going to operate in a peaceful way for all of the people in that region. If you like this content overall, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.